Right, hello everyone. There's often a lot of questions asked about the sort of V8 Jags. About what are they like? What are the pitfalls? What are the sort of problems that you get with the engines, and what to look out for if you're buying one. So I sort of felt compelled to have a go at doing almost like a buyer's guide, I suppose. Start with the interior. Not really a lot that will cause concern in here. The electric seats are largely reliable, don't really tend to give any problems. The wood trim, the lacquer can craze or crack, but it doesn't really tend to fall off or rattle or squeak or anything like that too much. Backlights in the clocks can pack up. Backlights in the radio, down there, the radio and the air conditioning displays can go. It's not that common, to be honest. Something to look out for is, as with any car, with the ignition on, make sure all of the sort of twiddly bits work, because you've got automatic headlights and things like that. You've got a trip computer button there. None of this, the trip computer button and stuff like that's not particularly important, but it's just good to know that it's all working. Obviously, you need to make sure your wipers are working, because, well, it's an MOT failure if they're not, and also quite inconvenient in a country where it rains so frequently as it does in the UK. You've got the other buttons for your trip computer there, which will sort of go through the various different functions. Your A and your B trip, it will switch from miles to kilometres, it will clear it off, it will reset the trip and everything like that. It's quite sort of straightforward and self-explanatory, really. If you switch on the ignition, use the rear speaker there, it goes mad when the amp turns on for some reason. But all your warning lights should go out. You don't want to see an orange telltale and a message in the message center there, because they usually tell you that something's broken, which you don't want. But when you start it up, obviously the big sort of complaint with the V8 engine was the timing chain tensioners. So when you start it up, which I will just do now, you want to make sure you don't hear any rattle from the timing chain tensioner area at the front of the engine. It should be nice and quiet like that. As you can see, I've got no warning lights. The handbrake light will go out if I take the handbrake off, and the other one, in case it's not clear on this video, is just the seatbelt light. So if I put that on, that's that. The seat belts can be a little bit slow to retract sometimes, but that's easily fixed. Right, just quickly, I'm going to drop the window and I'm going to open the bonnet there. As you see, nice, smooth and quiet. And this one has had the later all-metal tensioners put in it. But any car you're looking at, if there's no proof that they've been done, bear in mind it's something you may well have to do. And listen out for a sort of clonking, rattling from this sort of area of the engine, right at the front and on the other side as well, on the other bank, on start-up. Because that will tell you if it's rattling or knocking from there immediately on start-up, that tells you that the tensioners are really past their best. Other thing, plastic thermostat tower. This one's been replaced so it doesn't leak or anything like that, but they are prone to leaking, and a lot of people will fit the uprated aluminium one. Same thing with the water pump as well. There's an upgraded item for that, which this one also has on it. Earlier engines had Nickel cylinder liners, which were prone in their day to premature bore wear, thanks to the sulphur content in the petrol back then. But if you've got a nickel engine now and it's okay, odds are it will just be fine, because the sulphur content in petrol is nowhere near what it used to be. My previous XJ8 had a nickel engine in it, and actually, if I'm to be completely honest, I preferred it to this one. It was just slightly sweeter somehow. But they can rot on the sort of strut top areas and the inner wings here. See, this one's very clean. But, you know, if you see serious rot here, you might want to think about walking away. Same on the other side, but it's more hidden. Got the ABS pump there. The ABS control modules can fail. This one has failed before, and we cracked it open, resoldered it, put it back together, and it's been fine ever since. But Jaguar will tell you that's, I think it's over £1,000 from a main dealer, and they will tell you can't repair it. They will tell you it's a new item only. So beware of that. On this one, it was put in the car into complete fail-safe mode, and it wouldn't actually run at all when that went. But it was an easy fix. You know, no more than an hour of our time, and you know, a bit of solder basically, not difficult. Throttle bodies can cause problems, so make sure you get the car nice and hot on a test drive. And if it goes into limp home mode and basically loses its power, you may have a problem there. The throttle position sensors can go, and that will cause that. And again, you have to replace the whole throttle body unit, which is actually this bit under here, not the ducting. It's this whole unit here. Other than that, there's not really a lot too scary to worry about with these. The electrics are largely reliable. They can rot, usually on the sort of lower wing portions here and on the front edges of the sills and rear arches, although they're not as bad as X300s for rear arches for some bizarre reason. I don't know if they got rid of a rust trap or something, but yeah, they're really not too bad for that sort of thing at all. This one's got power fold mirrors and auto dimming. The auto dimming's gone a bit funny on this one, which you can see here. They do that. They're not cheap to replace either, but it's, you know, it doesn't really matter too much. The other thing with these is they have a sealed for life ZF gearbox, which sealed for life is just such a nonsense. If you buy one, you want to make sure it's had gearbox services, and if it hasn't and it's on high miles, you want to sort of really consider whether you want to accept that you're going to have to put loads of money into having the gearbox changed at some point, because it will go. They do go, and they go spectacularly, and they sort of need either full reconditioning or full replacement, neither of which comes cheap, so it's best to buy one that you know has been serviced. The sport switches can fail. This one's fine. I had a sticky sport switch on my old XJ Sport, and it did cause all sorts of weirdness with the gear changes, and the overall smoothness of the gearbox. I thought the gearbox on that was failing at 80,000 miles. Had it fully serviced, and there was no real improvement. Was aware the sport switch was sticking, so plugged it into a diagnostic, and it came up with a fault relating to the sport switch. Changed it, and after a couple of 100 miles, it was absolutely right as rain. It was fine. So something else to bear in mind. These aren't overly complicated cars for a luxury car. You've got climate control, and air conditioning. So obviously you want to make sure that's working as it should. Heated rear window. Basically make sure all the buttons are working. But that's quite a reliable system, doesn't really tend to give too much trouble. The stereos, the amplifiers can go, and the on-off switches, also the volume control, and that can go as well, which is a bit of a pain. But again, they're not too unreliable. They're pretty good. Other than that, there's not really that much to go wrong with them. They have electric seats, which aren't too bad. I've certainly had no problems with this one. Electric windows all round, obviously, and electric heated door mirrors. which again don't really tend to give any problems, although someone's hit that one for me and now the power fold doesn't work on it, which is quite annoying. But again, that's livable with. It's not going to be a deal breaker if you're looking at one, is it? Let's be honest. Other than that, there's not really a lot to say. They're just good, solid, reliable cars. So to go back to the engine, yes, you want to make sure it's either had the timing chain tensioners done, either that or you need to factor in the cost. Also the thermostat and the water pump. But if they have been done, there is no reason why one of these cars won't give you hundreds of thousands of trouble-free miles. They are, without wishing to jinx it, and I shall now knock on wood obviously, I've had a couple of them now and none of them has really given me any bother to actually talk about. I've replaced a couple of ignition coils on this one, and that is quite literally it. It starts, drives, stops, and everything works. And that is my experience with these cars. They're not as scary as people might like to make out. Alright, well I hope that's of help. I'm going to leave it there because I'm waffling and I think this is probably going to be really boring, but hopefully it might be helpful to somebody. Anyway, bye bye.